from attaining the goal that we all want to attain, being free from all negative emotions. Like sleeping in a room with other people becomes such a hindrance that we cannot practice.
That's self-cherishing.
Totally. And putting the focus on totally useless things. Of course. Yeah. Engage in the principal practices right now. So the principal practices are whatever benefits others, that is a principal practice. Putting the gurus, now I'm talking about master, I'm not talking about me. I'm not a teacher, I'm just a talker. Okay? So putting kind of, sometimes the teachers give you very strange instructions that might even go against the text. And then starting to fight with the teacher or not putting these instructions into practice. So putting the instructions of your heart guru into practice, that is one of the principal practices. Like not saying, oh, but it doesn't say like this in the scripture. So again, it's very difficult because before we said, how do you see if somebody is a genuine teacher? When what he says is in the texts. But you see, also the Buddha said things that contradict. He said there's true suffering, and then he said there's no suffering. Because we have a dualistic mind, me and others. There has to be contradiction. And we're desperately looking for one truth in conventional reality. It won't work. We are looking for lasting happiness in things that are by their nature impermanent. It will never work. It will never work. And the third principal practice, again, bodhicitta. Don't apply a wrong understanding. So again, wrong understanding would be you practice Dharma in order to feel good now. That would be a wrong understanding what these practices are for. And again, he talks about wrong compassion, like having compassion for a Dharma practitioner and not having compassion for people who are aggressive. For example, you don't need compassion for somebody who is practicing Dharma, even if in your eyes they have a lot of hardships. Yeah? They're okay with that. Or a wrong, what does it say here? Wrong understanding of Dharma is also, or Dharma like kindness. You're very kind to your friends, and you give them material things, and and all that, and you think that is loving kindness. That would also be a wrong understanding. You're kind of practicing kindness with people where it's very easy to be kind with because they're so kind to you, but you neglect your practice of kindness and generosity with people that you think don't deserve your generosity. And also a wrong understanding is if we have great enthusiasm to do what we really like to do, and we don't have any enthusiasm to do things that we don't like to do. This is people who jump from one practice to the other. They practice it as long as it feels good. When it stops feeling good, then they start another practice. Qigong, yoga, then meditation, then mindfulness, then Hinayana, then Mahayana. Let's do some Tantra. And finally they start working with auras and energies and chakras. And we had a very cruel receptionist at one point. He was from Ireland. So when people were coming to ask about whether we do chakra work, because they do in places like Rishikesh and all that, they do, because people pay a lot of money for that. Then he would usually say, no, sorry, we don't do aura fluffing and chakra pumping. You don't know him, he's not there anymore. He's from Ireland, Jackie. He was very funny. So that would be a wrong understanding, that we have a lot of enthusiasm to do whatever is pleasure, whatever we like, and we neglect the practices that are difficult. Again, yeah, this is don't forget, we did all the preliminaries before. This is not talking to you directly yet, because you haven't understood these things yet. Okay? This is for realized people when they really are one-pointed on wanting to attain enlightenment. Okay? Then you need these very, very strict guidelines. You're working, you have difficult lives, you think. You know, I can bring you many people who have much more difficult lives than yours. Of course, my life is the most difficult. Yeah, I see they also, but me, such a difficult life. But you do have difficult lives, yes, that's true. So you need to take rests also. And you need to do things that produce joy in you effortlessly, because otherwise you burn out. And then you drop the whole thing. So be kind to yourself. But to find the balance there, that's very difficult. You know, to see whether now, okay, I'm too tired, can't meditate. Is it just an excuse? Or is it really true? Sometimes it's true. Sometimes you should stay in bed and sleep. Sometimes it's just an excuse and it's just self-cherishing. So of course, whenever I have these things, never an excuse. It's always true. I always need the rest now. I could not sit another 2 minutes. I need to stop now so I can look at the telephone because I heard the sound that the message came in. Shut down the telephone when you start to meditate. Because you will not be able to stay in the breath if you heard that the message came in. And probably it might be some stupid publicity or who knows what. And you ruin your chance for enlightenment. Okay. Don't apply wrong understanding. Don't be sporadic. So that means not just occasionally. Don't do it, don't practice it like a hobby. You know, again, as long as it's pleasant, I do, and then when it becomes difficult, I don't. Your mind will start to transform when you continue, when it starts to get boring and difficult, and you continue. So I would say you have a guarantee that you make Dharma practice, it will stay with you for your whole life, after maybe 5 years of regular practicing. After 5 years and you're still in it, and you still go to teachings as much as you can, and you have a daily practice, I think you can be pretty safe. Before that, it can fall apart. And especially for young people, it falls apart because why? Because you meet somebody, you get married, and you have small children. Then the time is lacking. So while you don't have children yet, apply yourself. And then there's families where both parents practice, and they still practice even though they have children. We have examples here in the group. But there's others who, you know, one thought that when looking at them, oh, for sure he will be a monk in 2-3 years. Then he got married and children, and Dharma practice almost non-existent. Yeah, so it depends on you. It depends on what will happen. But there is so many hindrances, that outer hindrances, that we use as, oh no, can't do it anymore, don't have time. Have we ever said 3 days in a row or a week in a row, no, I don't have time to eat? Do we ever forget to eat? We always find time to eat. And this is just for this life. This is just to keep the body alive. We will die anyway at one point. But taking care of the mind, oh no, don't have time. Yeah. So look at your priorities. Again, I use these examples not to make you feel bad, but to see that for certain things, when we think it's important, we always find the time. It's only when we think it's not important, or when we forget that it's important, then we don't find the time. Don't be sporadic. That means it's better to be like, to have a really steady flow than to, you know, after a retreat you say, okay, now every day I sit 1 hour. No. Better to think, okay, 5 minutes. 1 minute. Or once a day I come back to the mind. Or like Thich Nhat Hanh, every time the telephone rings, before I answer, I look at the mind. So you use the telephone or the sound of a message coming in, you use it for first mindfulness, and then you answer, something like that. Once a day. And then you start to expand these periods. If sporadic would be, like you come back now and you think, wow, yeah, I'm going to do all these points, I'm going to learn them by heart, and then I'm going to do it, you will give up very, very quickly. So, practice steadily. Don't be boastful. Is that right? No, release, investigation, and analysis is, again, come back to the mind. That's one of the main practices. Always look, investigate the mind, analyze the mind, not outside things. We're very interested in outside events and objects and all this. We know so much. We know so much about the stars that we'll probably never go there. We'll never even touch them. But we know so little about the mind. We're totally externalized. Yeah? Our learning system is totally externalized. We learn so many things. I mean, what do I care what the capital of Venezuela is? Why do I need to know that? Why do I need to know these stars up there? The names of it. What does it have to do with wanting to be happy? So release, investigation and analysis. Like, meaning release the tensions in the mind, or release the afflictions, the negative emotions, through investigation and analysis. Yeah? Because it's all about being relaxed, but not a relaxation that is dependent on outside things. A mind that knows how to relax without any support, outside support. This is what it's all about. Yeah? In order to relax, we need a lot of outside support. We need music, we need sports, we need alcohol, we need drugs, we need conversations with people, we need books. If you just sit somewhere without looking at the view, and you say, oh great, nothing to do. The situation that you hope for so much, you could have it so many times a day. And you just sit. Okay, relax. How much can you be sitting there? How long?
5 minutes.
Huh?
10 minutes.
Maybe 10 minutes at the most. And then you feel bored. If you want to have a peaceful and relaxed mind, you need to be able to bear boredom. Because otherwise the mind always needs to be excited and happy, so it will never become peaceful and spacious. The boredom is the first step that the mind is starting to calm down. But the ego doesn't want boredom, it wants to be excited, it wants excitement, it wants to have something. Okay, so here it says, don't be boastful. I think in Chogyam Trungpa says it says stop your self-pity. In the German commentary it says, don't make big wind about what you're doing. Like the Buddha didn't teach us how we should show off with what we're doing, so we don't need to show off. We don't need to tell the whole world what we're doing. Unless they're asking. If they're asking and say, wow, you've changed. What are you doing? How come you've changed? How come you're more patient? But otherwise we don't need. I think in Chogyam Trungpa's it says something about self-pity there, isn't it? In that case. Yeah, stop feeling sorry for yourself. You have Buddha nature. What are you complaining about? You have the methods, you have interest, you have the places, you have financial means. Come on, pull yourself together and stop feeling self-pity. That's what he says. It doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you miserable. And then you start to play that part as being a poor person. Okay? Don't be short-tempered. In Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche's commentary is jealous. Yeah, he is short-tempered. 60. Here in German it says don't be calculating, you know, I do this, therefore I should get this back. Oh, I didn't get back. Oh, I put so much effort into helping the Dharma friends. Nobody ever says thank you. What is this kind of organization? It's because everybody puts a lot of effort into the things. Like nobody owns this group that should come and say thank you. Yeah, but we expect that they see what we're doing, they say thank you and so like that. Jealousy is a poverty mind, because I think I am lacking a lot of things and others have all these things, so that's also not such a happy mind that is jealous. We always think like others have so much advantages, I don't have any, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. So again, the point before, you know, release it to analysis and investigation. Look at that poor me kind of attitude. Wow. So boring. It always comes up with the same things. It's so boring. But sometimes we really like to wallow in it, isn't it? Don't make short-lived attempt. This is about the same as don't be sporadic. So, you know, really think until full awakening. So that means far ahead. Oof, that will take a long, long time. So we already know it from the beginning. We make a determination. I go until there. Because otherwise you give up very quickly. Again, if it's just for feeling good, well, so many more things are better than just to feel good. Yeah, you go on a paddleboard, makes you feel good, it's nice. Or you know, it's okay. It's okay. So, or you do other things that make you feel good. It's not about feeling good, this is the thing. It's about growing up. Drugs, you know, hashish, dope, makes you feel very good, very relaxed. It's okay, you have all the rights in the world not to like it. It's okay. Some people do like it, because it's an easy way to relax. Prozac, or other drugs like this, you know. Why do people consume these things? Because they're not happy. Because our natural state would be relaxed, so we're trying to find this relaxation by filling the world with so many things and so many activities. Like we try to find relaxation in activity. And we got addicted to it. And this is why we cannot relax anymore without activity. Like the kids in school, you know, they cannot listen if they don't draw at the same time. These kids who have attention deficit, they need to do a few things together in order to be able to concentrate. I mean, where are we going? Multitasking. Yeah, it fragments the mind so much. He will never come to rest. It needs to have excitement. We get very restless. And we go in that way. The more you go in that direction, the more restless you will become. The more you try to relax with activity, the more you will be addicted to activity. Yeah, we're in a bad state. We really are. Yeah.
What can we do?
What?
Besides, like when I'm aware of myself cherishing at the moment.
Yeah.
How can I respond or not respond?
By watching it. Relaxing, that you have it, you relax, okay, I have it like everybody else has it. I'm not the only one. I suffer because of that. Then you go to your self-cherishing and say, okay, I'm here now. What do you really want? And you start a conversation with it, for example. You see, don't think that this is an easy task. Don't think that you can do these things and then boom, it will go. Some people can be very forceful and say, come, stop it, go away. You know, like you can do with a spoiled child, you go, nah, 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 nah. With some kids, you can really go like this and they stop. You can say, stop it, that's enough, get lost. Come back when you're in a better mood. They go and they come back in a better mood. Some kids can bear that. Some other kids, they're so hurt. that you totally destroy them if you talk to them like that. So you need to find out, with all these methods, you need to find out which one will be the best one for you. Or you can do, as I said, for 2-3 days, you just follow your self-cherishing, you look how you feel at the end. And then 2-3 days, you cherish others, and then you look how you feel at the end. A very simple antidote for self-cherishing, whenever you have a wonderful moment, I think I can pick on you a bit, because I think you're quite strong, can I? You have a wonderful moment on your paddleboard, okay? So you go, may all beings enjoy this wonderful moment. Yeah, so the heart opens. When you fall off and everybody says, look, I mean, she's even falling off a paddleboard, and you feel hurt, yeah, because you go, but it's difficult, yeah? So then you think, may nobody suffer from being laughed at. Something like that. So this is how we start, it's a simple thing. We create the habit or the familiarity of, whenever we enjoy something good, think, oh, may all beings enjoy this. Whenever we suffer, may all beings be free from suffering. I don't know if you noticed what happened at lunchtime. We had artichokes. So for me, artichokes are something very precious. And the people tried to tell me, no, they're cheap. It's like, it's okay. Then you don't value it anymore. If you go, even if they're cheap, for me, it's still precious. You see, by habit, we do things that are...
You said it's cheap. You said so. No, it's not.
How much it costs?
Never mind. For me, it's precious, whether they're cheap or expensive or whatever. And I know that they really look at the budget when they feed us, because they don't also charge much money for the food here. Yeah, so that's why then it's this kind of food, and we go like, then Eat Success is because of another group. So then instead of going, oh, this other group gets some good food, but I don't. I'm grateful to the other group that they're here at the same time, so we can benefit from them and get the good food. So this is how you start to train the mind to see the positive side of it, to then follow this point. Always maintain a happy mind. See, when you go, yeah, it's cheap, there's no appreciation. That's it. So like that. So we start to go like, wow, so fortunate. And if somebody's as naive as me, then don't destroy my naive things, because then, oh, it's cheap. I'd rather be a naive, happy person than a very wise and intelligent, unhappy nagger. Okay? Nutnik. Okay. Last one, don't expect gratitude. Whatever you do it for the sake of doing it. Something good comes back, immediately you give it away to others. May all others benefit from the good thing that is coming back now. Something negative is coming back, okay, I take all the negative things of everybody else also on top of me. Yeah? Because if we don't get the thank that we expect, then we start to criticize and we start to get discouraged. Yeah? So we really need to start to see, why am I doing all these mitzvahs? Is it because I really want to be a good person and just do them? Or is it because I want to have good reputation? I want people to be kind to me. I want something to come back. We all have this... what do we all have? I forgot the point. Something to come back. We all have this fear when we're kind that people will take advantage of us. Well, if you are a bodhisattva and nobody takes advantage of your kindness, it's like, then where are you going to put your kindness and your generosity? But because we're so calculating, until here and not further, but we don't communicate it to the other. Like, I come and help you 3 times, but then finished, okay? So if we don't communicate that, and they keep asking because they think we're kind, and they think we come because we want to help, and they ask again and again and again and again and again, then we start to feel taking advantage of, and we start to feel stupid. And that's this thing, you know, don't expect gratitude. If you don't expect gratitude, people say thank you, okay. They don't say thank you, it's also okay. We just do things for the sake of doing them. And then again, it creates a lot of freedom in your heart. Okay. Not sure if we should go into 2B. Yeah, let's go. Let's look at 2B again, just briefly. I know it's intellectual. For the ones who have never heard this before, you will not understand anything. Just relax and listen, because when you hear this many, many times, all of a sudden it clicks. So the Ron is nodding. Yeah, me also when I heard this word. I was fascinated when I heard it for the first time, but I didn't understand. Yeah, but I thought, wow, this is really interesting what they're telling me. I didn't understand. So then this fascination, this will make you go and explore it further and further and further. If you're so arrogant to say, yeah, I know this, I understand. Some people go like this. They hear it for the first time and say, yeah, of course I know that. You know, if you really know what this says, the point 2B, you should never suffer. Because then you would see reality as it is. Where are the points? Oh, actually here it's 2A. In the German commentary it's 2B. So you need to look at 2A. Chain in the ultimate awakening mind. Not 2B. It's on the next page. Okay. When stability has been attained, impart the secret teaching. Secret teaching is emptiness. Now if you have somebody whose mind is very unstable, and you start to teach about emptiness, you confuse them even more. Then these wonderful teachings of the remedy for everything will become poison. So you need to have a stable mind in order to study emptiness and ignorance. You need to have a lot of humility that this is very profound and it takes a lot of time to understand what is really meant. And you need to have the interest and the enthusiasm to just continue. Yeah. So, only when stability is attained. How do we attain stability? By practicing first conventional bodhicitta. You know, seeing the kindness of others, wanting to repay the kindness, doing some tonglen. When you're happy, may all other beings also be happy. When you're not happy, may all others be free from suffering. These kind of things that are in point 2B. Here's point 2B. So this is why here it says the training first in the conventional bodhicitta. I know in the Kagyu teachings this comes first, but you know, indeed the mind training is for people who already they know about the Four Noble Truths, they are already on the path, they already have heard about bodhicitta and all these kind of things. So when stability in really wanting to attain enlightenment is there, then you talk about the ignorance that we have of seeing things that do not exist in and of themselves as not being existing like that, as being empty. So kind of which students we have to see, which are the right students to actually really spend a lot of time with them to give them these teachings. It's people who are determined to learn. What is the right time after conventional bodhicitta has been installed is quite firm already. Not being able to do it, but to wish to be able to do it, to be really, really stable. Not saying, yeah, all sentient beings. No. Only the kind ones, not the unkind ones. Yeah, this kind of wish should be stable. Which practices are in order to make the mind stable is first the preparations like precious human rebirth, impermanence and death, karma, dukkha, pleasure, and then bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta, then emptiness. This is why also in the sixth perfection, wisdom is the last one. Yeah. But if you have people who already have these other things, then you can start with that. Like this text starts with emptiness. This commentary, and probably yours also by Pema Chodron. Yeah, it also starts with emptiness. Probably Alisa's not.
It's like that.
Then, how do we train in emptiness? Very simple again, very straightforward. Consider all phenomena as like dreams. Everything is a production of the mind. Same as in a dream, the story that you are fabricating there, only your mind. So we learn to, when we get caught into, this is really bad, or this is really good, we go, it's just my mind experiencing like that. Just my mind seeing it like that. So that loosens up this whole thing. Yeah? Examine the nature of unborn awareness. So that first we start to recognize that outside objects are the way they appear is depending on the mind. And then we start to understand also the mind is free of any inherent existence. Also the mind itself does not exist from its own side. Because otherwise we make the mind real. Yeah. Also the mind is just a dependent arising. It has a few parts, it's a continuity, it's connected. There's nothing that you can say, this is the mind. The same as here, there's nothing you can say, this is the cup. Wherever I point to, the pen is easier. This is a pen, yeah? But wherever I point to is no pen. And there's nothing that I can point to and can say, this is the pen. All I find is, no, this is no pen. All I find is not pen. This is why it can be a pen. And what is the pen? It's just a label. The conventional reality of the pen is that it has a function to write, and it has a function to write, and that we give it the label pen. Or here in Israel, how do you call these things?
Et.
Huh?
Et.
Et. Oh, that's easy. An et. If it would be a real et from its own side, I could go to Switzerland and say I want an et. They would say, huh? Or I could come here in Israel and I say, ich will den Chugi. They go, huh?
Hugi?
Chugi. Chugi is Swiss German. Not. Kugelfüllfederhalter is the German word, and the Swiss say Chugi. Comes from Kugel, but then.
Kugel is like a pie.
No, Kugel. Yeah. For you, no. A Kugel is a bowl.
Ah, right, for ice cream.
No.
Yeah,
A Kugel is something that is round.
If you buy ice cream, you
Look,
can ask for Kugel.
German is my mother tongue, okay? So please do not correct me in my mother tongue. A Kugel is anything that is round.
Okay.
So that can be ice cream.
Yeah, I was asking ice cream in Berlin.
Yeah, you ask wie viele Kugeln möchtest du? Because they're round.
Mm-hmm.
But if the ice cream is already packed in a container, they're not asking how many kugels do you want. They're asking you, how many do you want? Wie viele Becher möchtest du? So like this. So Kugel is anything, and because there is a ball, it's a ball point pen. That's where it comes from.
In Yiddish, Kugel is some kind of pie.
Yeah. So okay, where is the real Kugel now? Which one is the true Kugel? Is it the Yiddish pie, or is it the German round thing? So the Germans would say, ours is the real one. The Yiddish people would say, no, the pie is the real Kugel. So which one is the real Kugel? Which one? Huh?
The Jewish one.
Who said both? Who said both? Cannot be both. Impossible. But what can it be? None. Neither. Both of them are relative truths. For the Yiddish, I say Kugel and the pie comes up in the mind. To a German-speaking person, I say Kugel and something round comes up in the mind. That's it. So does that Kugel really exist out there as a real pie or as a real round thing? that is the emptiness of things. That it depends from which side you look at it, what you mean by it. Yeah? And then we have conventions, like then you could say, okay, everything is random, so I can call this a tree. No, we have agreements. But they're just agreements. We have an agreement that 2 and 2 is 4. There's nothing that comes from these things equal 4 that says, hey, I'm a 2 and I'm another 2 and now we're 4. There's nothing that's there.
I saw nice examples of that. 6 and 9. It depends from which side you look.
Exactly. Yeah.
But those are symbols. Language is symbols, numbers are symbols. Sometimes, let's say there's something that I don't know the name.
Conventions. Let's call them conventions. Agreements.
Okay.
They're just agreements.
But let's put that aside for a second, because emptiness is, I don't understand it at all, but it's more than just the symbol and the names for it, right? It's also,
No, there
I
is
didn't know.
there is no real meaning in it until you give it a meaning to that symbol. There's nothing coming from the symbol who says, I'm a 2. So the emptiness is empty of having a real meaning that is not dependent on the mind that gives it the meaning. That is the emptiness. Do you see what I mean? Emptiness is a lack of something. A lack of something that has never been there. Now the cup can be empty, but the cup can also be full. But it's not that the meaning sometimes comes from the object and sometimes not. It never comes from the meaning. You see, inherent existence means not being dependent on anything else. This 2 can stand as a 2 without any mind giving it the label 2. That would be inherent existence. So the emptiness of it is the absence of inherent existence.
So if I'm looking at the cup, right, but I'm not concerned not with the fact that it's called a cup, and not that I use it for drinking, and not that it's full or relatively full, I just acknowledge that it's there. What is the emptiness about it being there?
You will put a label. Your mind will put a label on it. Your mind will give it a meaning.
But let's say I don't know what this is, right? It's the
Yeah,
first
then
time
you
I've
will
seen
give it a meaning of unknown object. That is also a meaning. Try to look at an object and not give it a meaning. Look around in the room now. And try to just look at something as you said, not to give it a meaning. Try. Not to think, not to put the label immediately. So even if it's something you don't know, you put the label unknown object. You still give it a meaning as unknown. It's not a being empty. Yeah? No, you know, every object has emptiness of inherent existence, and every object has a conventional reality, and they go together. You cannot say, okay, I just take emptiness and the conventional reality I throw out. They're dependent on each other. Yeah? So even if you be an ant, you would give it the meaning kind of obstacle, or whatever. I don't know how ants think. No clue. So, yeah. But the emptiness is it lacks. The basis lack inherent existence. There's nothing coming from here that says cup, or how do you call it in Hebrew? Kos, or dustly, or whatever. And also the mind is like that. Also, there's nothing you can you find parts of the mind, but there's nothing you can say that is the mind, because then it's either a consciousness or a mental fact. The next one is examine the nature of unborn. This is what we had. The remedy itself is released in its own place. So the remedy to everything is emptiness. So don't make emptiness real, truly existent from its own side. Emptiness is also dependent arising. You cannot have emptiness somewhere hanging. Emptiness always needs conventional reality. Like the emptiness of this cup is dependent on the cup. When the cup goes, the emptiness of the cup also goes.
The spaces between the words.
Hmm?
The spaces between the words.
Like spaces between words? What?
Because it's dependent on the words and on things being
In order to have a space, yeah, you need something that is confining it, or directions. Mhm.
You have to define it. You must define it with a word. To label it.
So don't make emptiness inherently existent, because then it's not the antidote anymore. You see, we could just think, okay, dissolve everything, that's what you do in tantric practices, and then you just visualize space. Like no appearance of anything inherently existent. But that's not enough. We also need to understand that also this space is empty of inherent existence. The space between the words is also empty. And is also dependent. Okay? Because otherwise the antidote doesn't become the antidote. So this is why it says release, the remedy itself is released in its own place. Meaning it's also empty. Place the essence of the path on the nature of the basis of all. So the nature of the path is keep mental quietude, keep your mind free of excitement and dullness, allow the mind to rest in its natural state, clear light, free of concepts. This is what you practice on the path, to go to that goal. You know, like in Mahamudra they say very nicely, just let the mind rest in its natural state, it will realize its own nature. That sounds very nice and very easy, but our mind is never in its natural state because it's always filled with concepts and thoughts. But what happens if you start to seriously practice meditation, and what goes with seriously practice meditation is to go into retreat, to take away the toys, to take away the excitement, to take away the pleasures, to take away the conversations, to take away the telephone, so that all these things that we figure out all the time are not there anymore. And then maybe the mind will come to rest. Maybe. After a long time. Yeah? So this is why even you do short meditation periods, you keep them short, no problem, but keep them disciplined. Keep them, whenever the mind goes away, bring it back to the breath. Bring it back, bring it back. Don't use it for making plans, because that becomes a terrible habit. Then you use that very precious time that you have to allow the mind to calm down, because once the mind is really calm, you don't need to make plans because you will know. If you start to try to figure things out when the mind is very agitated, you just create more confusion. So allow the mind to rest. Yeah. So this is the ultimate bodhicitta, to know that actually, there is suffering, but actually really it doesn't exist. It's empty of inherent existence. It's a dependent arising. It does exist, but not as real and true suffering. Actually, there are negative emotions, but if I look, I can't find them anywhere. It's just moments. Just continuity, just connection between the moments. Actually, it looks as if there's a cessation, but that also doesn't exist from its own side. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche, when he dedicates, he always dedicates like this: may I, who don't exist from my own side, attain full awakening, who doesn't exist, or who's also empty of inherent existence, who doesn't exist from its own side. Achieve enlightenment doesn't exist from it, for the benefit of all sentient beings who don't exist from their own side, who also not exist. If you only practice that, you very quickly fall into nihilism and depression, and you say, well, what's the point? This is why we have to practice this other path of conventional bodhicitta, seeing the suffering of others, wanting to do something about this. If you only practice that part, you also fall into depression because it seems hopeless. You see, even a room has been dark for millions of years. Even our mind has been dark for millions of years. The moment you put on the light, the darkness is gone. The moment we start to understand this point 2a, the darkness is gone.